All right. Good afternoon if you're in the East Coast, and good morning if you are here in the West Coast. We are going to start the webinar now. Thank you very much for joining us today. Let's see. Okay. Again, good morning, good afternoon. This is JL Diaz, and I will be your host and moderator for this for today's webinar. Just like to remind you that you'll be placed on mute, and if you have any questions or you want to ask questions later on, we'll discuss that during the open forum. Also, you can use the chat window to post your questions, and we will answer them towards the end of the webinar. For attending this webinar, we are giving away a raffle prize for those of you who will stay until the end, which we'll raffle tomorrow, Monday. And just to remind everyone that this is going to be recorded, and the recording along with the slides will be available for you after this webinar. Okay, so for the agenda for today, we'll discuss what is GASB 87 and GASB 96, and we'll explore how flexible real estate and contract lease management can help you become compliant with Governmental Accounting Standard Boards 87 and 96. We'll also show you the approach, Phoenix approach in implementing this type of project. We'll show you typical timelines, the accelerators that we're using, and the resources that we field for this type of project. We will also show you some systems. Sanjay will show a live system demo so you can have a sense of how the system is and how easy it is to navigate. And then lessons learned will also be shared based on our experiences for our past projects. And then the open forum will be towards the end. Again, my name is JL Diaz. I'm a client partner director here at Phoenix Business Consulting, and I've been doing project management and account management for the company. I've been doing SAP for over 25 years, and in the public sector space, about 15 years. And for the GASB 87 and 96, Sanjay and I, we've been managing or implementing this project for about 5 years. And for today, the most of the topic will be covered by Sanjay, who is our lead SAP REFX and CLM consultant, who is known also as probably the most experienced GASB 87 and GASB 96 implementer in the United States. So, Sanjay?
Yeah, thank you, Jail. Good morning, good afternoon, all. Thank you for attending the workshop. It's really a pleasure to share my experience with all of you. My name is Sanjay Bhatia. I'm based out of Houston, Texas. I have been a SAP REFX or a CLM lead consultant for almost all my life. I've been doing it for more than 20 years. I've done big and small project implementation all over the globe. Last 10 years, I've been more focused on the public sector implementation. So I've done the implementation for public sector clients all over the US. And out of these 10 years, the last 5 years, ever since the GASB 87 and GASB 96 have been in effect, I have been doing the implementation for these two modules and helping the client to do the compliance. I'll be showing you a live demo of the system as to how the GASB 87 or GASB 96 works. I will also show you some of the accelerators that we have used on different projects, and I'll be more than happy to share my experiences and answer any questions that you have towards the end of the session. Okay,
All right.
Jail, back
Thank
to
you
you.
very much. Thank you very much, Sanjay. So for those of you who don't know us, a brief overview of who is Phoenix Business Consulting. We are an SAP Gold partner, and we have been accredited and certified to sell and service SAP S/4HANA, SuccessFactors, Ariba, and Concur, among other things. We have been in business for over 25 years and has about 150 customers across the board from public sector to the commercial space. We have about 150 consultants. Some of them are recognized experts in the SAP field. Some of them are recognized as thought leaders and best practice champions as well. Phoenix is also not only doing services in the SAP space, but we're also being considered as SAP, or rather a hosting partner by AWS. So we're one of the select consulting partner of AWS for hosting. So with all of this, spectrum of services and capabilities, we have been known as one of the go-to partners, if not the go-to partner for SAP public sector implementation. All right, so over to you, Sanjay, for an overview of what is GASB 87 and 96.
Okay, thank you, Dale. So let's do a deeper dive into what the GASB 87 and GASB 96 is. Let's try to at least understand what the definitions are, what the implications are, and what you exactly need to do the compliance for GASB 87 and GASB 96. Many people on this webinar, I recognize because I worked with some of you on the implementation as well as on the demo. So this would be a little deeper dive into the GASB 87, GASB 96 Accounting Standard Board requirements. GASB 87, this has been in place for more than 5 years now. This is applicable to a lease-in as well as to a lease-out contract. Of course, lease-in and lease-out have different meanings for different people. Basically, what it means in a layman's language, a lease-in contract is something where you as a government organization are a tenant. You are using either a piece of property or an equipment on lease. Somebody else, maybe a third party, we call it as a landlord, is a vendor for you. So you are using certain objects or certain properties or certain equipments from him or her and paying the rent. So that's what we call it as a lease in. A lease out contract is exactly opposite of it. It is a contract where you as a government organization are an owner. You own a piece of property, own a piece of equipment, you give it on rent to somebody else as a third party. We call them as tenants, and they pay you for using these properties or equipment. GASB 87 is applicable to real estate and equipment leases. As a lessee means when you have a lease in contract, you have to recognize the lease liability and a intangible right to use a lease asset. What it generally means is if you are leasing a property, let's say you are using an office building and you are paying $1,000 of rent to the landlord, you now need to show this liability as a balance sheet item. Before the GASB 87, you are just paying off this $1,000 to your landlord and showing it as an expense. That's not permitted anymore. You will have to now show this as a liability on your balance sheet. You have to now create a corresponding right of use asset on your balance sheet and do the whole amortization. On the other side, a lessor is required to recognize a lease receivable and deferred inflow of resources. So more or less the similar calculation, but on the opposite side, you need to show what you are going to receive from your tenant as a receivable or deferred inflow, and then do the amortization on that. This basically is used to enhance the relevancy and consistency of information about government leasing activities. So that's what the GASB 87 is. In layman's language, what we need to do now is this $1,000 that we were paying to the landlord earlier as a lease in or a lease out expense. We now need to break it down. First of all, create a right of use asset out of it, show it on the balance sheet, and then do the amortization. So $1,000 may need to now be broken down into a $800 depreciation item and a $200 interest item. So instead of booking directly into P&L, we now need to amortize and break it down into interest and the depreciation entries. Super complicated, a lot of calculation involved, but luckily we have the REFX system to handle all of it. Coming to the GASB 96, this is applicable to the lease-in as well as the SaaS leases. SaaS basically is the software as a service. We also call it as SBITA. Those who are exploring the GASB 96 implementation must have come across this SBITA term again and again. This basically means a subscription-based information technology arrangement. Um, this simply means, if you are using a simple software like MS Office, you are using Microsoft in Excel spreadsheet, PowerPoint, you basically don't own it. You are using it on a subscription basis, and therefore now you are subject to a GASB 96 compliance requirement. Only software leases are covered. This guidance is now applicable from June 15 of 2022. So basically we are in the first year of the GASB 96, and you need to start recording and complying to the GASB 96 with the immediate effect. So under this, you need to now qualify all the SBITA agreements and basically do the similar kind of arrangement that we are doing for GASB 87, almost similar calculations and similar reporting along with the journal entries. Okay, Jail, let's go to the next slide. So now, having understood what GASB 87 and 96 means, what exactly are you supposed to do? On your left-hand side of the screen, we have what you need to do on day one of the compliance. Basically, all the leases that you have, whether they are a lease in or they are a lease out, you have to calculate the valuation for lease. You will have to now calculate the right of use asset and the liabilities. You will have to come up with the cash flow for depreciation, the interest, and the clearing entries, as well as you have to generate the disclosure report. Again, going back into the layman's language, what you basically need to do is taking that $1,000 example. If you have a $1,000 lease for 3 years, you are going to pay 1,000 multiplied by 36 months. That's $36,000 going to the payment going to the landlord in next 3 years. You need to calculate at the cost of borrowing of your company, for which you get the guidance from your CFO's office, what my interest rate is and what would be my discounted cash flow at that interest rate for this $36,000. Again, in layman's language, what it means is if I'm paying $36,000 to my landlord in next 3 years, if I have to pay everything as of today, what will that amount be? That's something like similar to your home mortgage. The $36,000 at 4% interest may turn out to be $33,500 of the payment that you will be paying to the landlord as a net present value. So you need to now create a right of use asset for a $33,500 on your balance sheet, show it as a liability, and then do the amortization on that. So basically a lot of complex calculation that you need to do this compliance and calculate the cash flow. It does not stop here. On the right-hand side of your screen, you have what you need to do going forward. So a simple lease of 3 years goes through many life cycle changes. A simple example is a 3-year extension after the 3-year term is over. You may also come across certain rent escalations. You may also come across certain rent exemptions. For example, there was a COVID situation and therefore you did not pay to your landlord for some time and you did not charge your tenant for some time. Similar situation may arise again, and for any situation like that where our pre-contractually agreed terms and conditions have changed, you will have to now redisclose those things. So it means that if you are extending the contract by another 3 years, you will have to reperform the calculation for GASB 87, find out what your revised cash flow is going to be for GASB 87, and then disclose it back to the GASB 87 authorities. So in a nutshell, basically all the leases that you have, they have to constantly go through these changes. They have to record all these changes, recalculate the net present value as well as the discounted cash flow, and then re-report to the GASB 87 authorities. Okay, let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, so now I know I have scared you a lot. Basically,
yes. Yeah. So some of you might find the details overwhelming, and at this point, we'd like to offer a 2-day virtual workshop for all of you who are attending this webinar, where we can do a deeper dive into your requirements and scope, and provide the best implementation timeline and solution options for you, and of course, a high-level budget so that you'll know what type of resources and funds are needed for this type of project. So I'd just like to highlight that at this point in time. All right, Sanjay.
Okay, thank you, Dale. So let's see what we need to do and how SAP REFX or the CLM module can help. SAP has come up with this solution, what we call it as SAP Contract and Lease Management or CLM. This is also interchangeably called as SAP REFX. So this module basically has a inbuilt solution to comply with the GASB 87 as well as the GASB 96 requirements. For GASB 87, it's the lease in as well as on the lease outside. And for the GASB 96, it's for all the lease in or the SaaS agreements that we have. This module is a unified platform for all the lease administrators as well as the asset accountants. Now, since we have to create a right of use asset, we may need to involve the people from finance side, people from the asset side, and need to bring them onto the same platform. We need to standardize our leasing processes. Basically, any changes that are happening to the lease, the finance team need to be notified so that they can do the remeasurement or recalculation of the cash flow for the GASB 87 and GASB 96 and report to the GASB authorities. Therefore, we need to have the real-time valuation of finance and the operating leases. And basically, we'll have to do the elimination of financial interface. The square at the bottom, which talks about coordination between lease administrators and finance is critical for proper classification. We are basically talking about the compliance here, and for the compliance, it has to be real time. We need to show our balance sheet needs to reflect what our exact position is on the lease, and therefore the lease administrators and the finance team have to be on the same page, maybe on the same software platform, so that this back and forth communication can happen real time about the lease changes, about the recalculation of net present value, and so on and so forth. The SAP CLM module exactly offers that. It has all the functionalities that we need, all the integration pieces that we need for this compliance. For example, we can bring the GL people, we can bring the AP, the AR, the controllers, people who are handling the profit center entries, as well as the reporting. All these people can be brought onto the same platform, and we can make this compliance very easy and smooth, as well as transparent going forward. So the CLM module is basically equipped for that. Let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, so this is what the solution overview is. Now, as I said earlier, we have been hearing about two modules of SAP. One is the SAP REFX module, and the second one is the SAP CLM module. REFX stands for Flexible Real Estate Management, and CLM stands for Contract and Lease Management, or Contract Lease Management module. The REFX is a bigger module. This has been in place since last 25 years, and this has existed before the GASB 87, GASB 96 days as well. This module has three components. One is the master data. Master data can be for our properties, can be for our buildings, can be for ground leases, parking spaces and equipments, and so on and so forth. The second piece is the contract management, which is all our leasing information, and that lease can be our GASB 87 leases or GASB 96 leases. Once we have the two master data pieces in place, then all we need to do is do some periodic processing and run some reports. Like, for example, we can do the rent processing, we can do the index adjustments, we can also do some sales-based rent adjustments, and so on and so forth. Everything that we do in any of these master data elements like contract or the business entity, etc., will automatically flow to the GASB 87, GASB 96 valuation posting. It's all real-time integration, and it will be able to handle all the reporting as well as the disclosures to the GASB 87. We also have certain features available. The last boxes in the last three boxes in the bottom of the screen, which is our general reminders, inspections, corporate reporting. Basically, if you want to track your contracts, make sure they don't expire or make sure that we are paying the rents on time, we can generate the reminders, etc. This module is also inbuilt integration with the with the CO, FI, asset accounting, and plant maintenance module. So lots and lots of functionalities available in REFX. During the system demo, I will also show you what the REFX is, where exactly it is in SAP, and what the CLM module is. Okay, so let's go to the next slide, please. The other one is what we call it as SAP CLM. CLM is a small spin-off from the REFX. So it offers most of the functionality of REFX, but not all. This CLM module is basically designed for the GASB 87, GASB 96 compliance without the master data piece. So as you can notice here, we are missing the master data piece for the properties, like we can't track the buildings, we can't track our parking, we can't track our properties, etc. But we still have the contract management, we still have the periodic processing. So we basically bring in the contracts, the GASB 87 and GASB 96 relevant contracts, create them, can do AP and AR postings from those contracts, as well as do the GASB 87 and 96 functionality. So, CLM is a small component of REFX. A lot of my clients have either missed the deadline or, could not get the inventory of all their leases in time. And therefore, what they have done is, because the REFX takes a little longer time because you have to track the master data, they have gone with the CLM implementation. So, get the basic bare minimum things like contracts and leases that you need for all your GASB 87 and 96 compliances. Okay, so that's basically the difference between SAP CLM and the REFX module. CLM does have the integration with the CO, the controlling, as well as the financials and the asset accounting module. So, it still meets your GASB 87 and 96 requirements, but you may be missing some pieces like the real estate integrated processes, etc. Okay, let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, so this is what you need to do on the GASB 87 and 96 compliances. First and foremost is you need to analyze your leases. GASB 87 and 96 gives you a lot of exemptions. Not every lease that you sign is basically supposed to be under the or qualifies for the GASB 87 or 96 compliance disclosures. There are exemptions, like there could be some small short-term leases, anything less than 1 year. There could also be a short value or a small value lease, falling below a certain amount of cash flow, and therefore those are exempted from the lease analysis. That's the first and foremost thing. You need to, first of all, come up with the idea or with the criteria of qualifying the leases, which ones are subject to GASB 87, 96, and which ones are not. Once we do that, the next decision or a key decision would be what kind of lease types do we want to track. Now, lease type here basically represents what kind of a lease that we have. So we have at a higher level a lease in, a lease out contract. Lease in can also be classified into GASB 87 relevant and GASB 96 relevant. GASB 87 relevant would be your property lease, can be your building office lease, can be your ground lease, can be a parking lease, even equipment lease. So for example, you and almost all of us do that. We lease copiers, printers, scanners, those small IT related equipments. Those leases may also be subject to the GASB 87, and therefore we need to come up with lease types so that we can track all of them separately. On the GASB 96, you may again have many software subscription leases. Example could be a Adobe. You may have a PDF arrangement with the Adobe. You may have a cloud arrangement with AWS. You may have SAP. You may be using Microsoft, and so on and so forth. So all those things can be lease types, and these subscription-based lease you can track. The next piece is the business partner. You need to track your vendors and customers because you are paying to your landlords or vendors, and you are charging your tenants. So we capture them as business partners. If you are already on S4HANA, there is no concept of vendor and customers anymore. It's all business partners. So S4HANA people will have already the business partners created in their system. You don't need to do anything additional. If you are still on ECC, you definitely can implement GASB 87, GASB 96, but now you are still using the vendors and customers. REFX or CLM do not accept vendors or customers. You will have to convert them into business partners and then use them for your contract. So we have to go through that small extra piece here. Number 4 is our contracts. We need to define and clearly state all our contracts, lease in as well as lease out. Contract will have lots and lots of terms and conditions. Simple example can be, what's my contract start date? What's my contract end date? How many months of contracts do I have? What's my vendor? Who's my customer on the contract? What am I leasing? Is it a property? Is it an office building? Is it a ground? Is it a parking space? Is it a equipment? We also have most important piece, which is the financials on the contract. How much are we paying every month to the landlord? What is the breakup? Are we just paying the rent? Or we are also paying the rent, common area maintenance, utilities, and XYZ type of charges. So all those things need to be mapped into the contracts. Number 5, AP and AR checks. This is an optional activity. Many of you may be using your existing legacy system, maybe SAP procurement or something to pay to your landlords or charge to your tenants. So you don't want to disturb that arrangement. You just want to do the compliance using REFX or CLM modules. So AP and AR integration is purely optional. Many of my clients have continued to pay to their landlords and tenants through the existing legacy system, but still implemented the GASB 87, and REFX and CLM is equipped to handle that. Number 6 is our CPI contract. Many of you have CPIs, CPI is Consumer Price Index. Many contracts are linked to that. Now we are living in the inflation time, so CPI is all the more important and relevant. SAP CLM module has an inbuilt capability to handle the CPI. It can do all the calculations. It can do all the adjustments automatically. So, that's another feature that we can use. Finally, we have number 8, which is the GASB 87 and 96 compliance. Once we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in place, most of the 87 compliance or most of number 8 would be automatic. All the calculations that we talked about, all the NPV, amortization schedule, etc., would be automatic, and it can be handled by the CLM module with the inbuilt accounting engine or inbuilt calculation engines. And by the way, SAP's calculation engine for GASB 87 and 96 is certified by E&Y. We do have some OSS notes and documentation on that available in public for domain by SAP, so we don't really need to worry about if SAP's calculations are right or not. They are certified, they are accepted by the government accounting boards, and therefore, we don't really need to worry about the calculation and their authenticity. Okay, let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, so here is the 2 approaches that we offer. One is a full-fledged REFX implementation, which includes the end-to-end real estate processes, lease management, and accounting. So this one also comes with GASB 87 and 96. In the first box, you can see this is applicable to ECC as well as the S4HANA users. So if you are on ECC and if you are on 6.16 and above support pack, you don't have to worry. The REFX and CLM module are available. You just need to implement some TCI or OSS note list, and your system should be compliant enough for the REFX and CLM. So REFX basically brings in the master data, brings in the end-to-end real estate processes. It makes your real estate handling much more easier and transparent. Whereas if we use just the CLM for GASB 87 and 96, we are going to skip the entire master data piece. We will be focusing on just the contracts and the compliance part of it. and that could be, a quicker implementation as compared to the REFX. We have expertise in both. We have experience in both. We have done it for many, many clients. So we can, based on your requirements, offer you the package that you are looking for. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so we also offer a lot of accelerators because a lot of clients have already missed the bus. The implementation or the compliance is required. You may be doing it through Excel spreadsheets. You may be doing it through a lot of manual calculations, etc. And you want a quick and easy implementation. We offer lots of accelerators. One of the accelerator is a tool or a data migration accelerator called the 2Clicks. This 2Clicks is our in-house built software package, I would say. This is basically to handle all your migration. So you have your leases, you may be having 500, 1,000, 2,000 active leases. We need to migrate them quickly into these REFX or CLM module, and migration takes a long time. We generally spend about 30 to 40% of the project time on just the migration activities, developing the in-house programs to, upload the data into the SAP system. 2Clicks basically eliminates all that development piece. It just creates a simple template. So basically what you do is once you decide to use 2Clicks, we give you a transport request that you can then import into your system. It's like, downloading an app from a Play Store or from an Apple Store. You download this into your system and you have the 2Clicks ready. Absolutely no need of any development for the conversion programs. The system gives you all the flexibility and all the data migration requirements that you have from REFX or CLM. So the whole implementation or data migration can be done in 3 steps. Number 1 is download the template. It's a very simple Excel-based template. I'm going to show you as part of the demo. You update the template with all the lease information and then upload the template. So it's as easy as completing your entire data migration in 3 steps. This has been a game changer for many of our clients. Once they buy, the 2Clicks software, basically the whole development piece is gone. Your entire team can focus on data cleansing and data compilation part of it. And therefore, we can eliminate a lot of unnecessary time and resource budget from the implementation project. Okay, I'll be showing it to you in a minute. Let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, so now time for a live demo, and let me share my screen. Just give me a second. I'm logging into my system. Okay, I'm sharing my screen. Jail, can you see the screen? I'm showing a SAP screen.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jail. So this is a SAP screen. Many of you are familiar with this. This is S/4HANA, as you can see here, but you don't have to worry about it. Even if you are on ECC, this module as well as the 2-click system can work for you. First question is, where is SAP REFX and CLM? Going into the standard SAP menu under accounting, we have this module called flexible real estate management. Once you expand this, you see all the sub-modules within this, the master data, contract, accounting, balance sheet, etc., etc. This is the flexible real estate management, which caters to your real estate master data, as well as the GASB 87 and 96 compliances. So you use master data to create your buildings, create your land, ground leases, create your rental units, you create your business partners, create contracts, you do the accounting, and finally you do the balance sheet valuation of the contract, which is nothing but your GASB 87 compliance. So this is full REFX module. If you are planning to do just the CLM, which is contract lease management, you will still be working under the flexible real estate management, but what you don't get is the master data. So you will not really be getting any information or any placeholder for your land, building, equipment, or any of the master data that you have, you can straight away go into your contracts, manage or create all the contracts which are subject to GASB 87 and 96. And that includes your ground leases, your building leases, your software leases, and so on and so forth. You do the accounting, which is your periodic posting. Periodic posting basically creates the AP and AR entries, which you can use for your landlord and the other payments. And it is again optional for you to not, if you want to do it, great. If you don't want to do it, you can skip that as well. The most important piece is the balance sheet valuation. This is where your contract GASB 87 and 96 comes in. We create the valuation rules, we create the valuation parameters, and we help you to achieve all the NPV, the IRR calculations. Everything is done within a single transaction, and all the leasing and finance people would be using most of the single transactions. We also have a lot of information systems or the reporting available, and some of these reports, like for example, the RECESH is going to give you the cash flow of your GASB 87, GASB 96 leases. You need to download this. You need to, do your math, maybe subtotals and everything, and that's your disclosure report. So that's going to show you your total liability, total right of use asset information on your balance sheet, and that's basically a disclosure report. Just download this, do some math, and then you are ready to do your compliances for the GASB 87 as well as 96. Coming to how do these GASB 87 and 96 look like? I talked about a single transaction that most of the users use. So we go to this RECN, a simple 4-letter transaction. We go to, everything is tied to a company code, and every contract has a contract number as well as the contract type that you can use for the compliance. So let's go into a simple GASB 87 lease. This GASB 87, as you can see here, this is a contract type as lease in. This contract has components or many screens. Now, this single transaction is used for GASB 86, GASB 87 lease in, GASB 87 lease out, as well as the GASB 96 compliance. This transaction is used by the lease administration, by the finance people, by the reporting people, as well as the controlling. From general data with fast entry up to conditions is generally what is used by the lease administrators or maybe the procurement team, people who are negotiating the contracts with the landlords, etc. They will be capturing the key information, like, for example, who is my landlord, what's the vendor behind it, what's my contract start date, what's my contract end date, whether this is subject to GASB 87, GASB 96, and so on and so forth. Under the term tab, we capture, what is the contract term, how many months of the contracts do we have, are there any contract potential renewals, and so on and so forth. Under the objects tab, we can capture what exactly is being leased. It can be a property like a piece of ground. It can also be a software lease. It can be, a building, and so on and so forth. So all this is captured under objects. We have the posting parameters, which capture the tax information. So like, for example, I have the some of my states where I am leasing are subject to tax, like, for example, Florida or Alabama. Those taxes are bringing some more complications. So we can capture all that information right here. We can capture the frequency, like how frequently are we paying? Are we paying once in a year? Are we paying once in a quarter, every month, and so on and so forth. And then the org assignment bring our integration to not only the profit centers and functional areas, but most of the public sector would be using the funds, the grants, and all those public sector typical objects. All those would show up here once we enable or activate the REFX and the public sector integration here. So everything that we post from here would automatically be going to your funds and your grants, etc. Condition, most important. This is what we are going to pay to the landlord. We can have a list of conditions, and these conditions can be our base rent, can be our common area maintenance, utilities, etc., etc. How much are we paying? We are capturing here. This information is captured by the lease admin people. Now, once this is done, the contract number is saved, contract number is generated. This contract is now used by the finance team, people mostly who are on this call, who are responsible for GASB 87 and 96 compliance requirement. All you need to do here now is come into this, add a new valuation rule, and these valuation rules have like, these examples here. So this is, you get the interest rate, you get the start of consideration, you get the absolute end date, and based on that, you would be capturing all the key information that you will use for the conditions or the valuation. Once you capture this, all you need to do basically is to press on certain flags like this flag right here, which is performing the measurement and creating the valuation log. By doing this, SAP is now going to take all your calculation into consideration. It's going to look at what the contract dates are, what the start date, end date, and what kind of rents are we paying. And it's going to generate all these calculations automatically. So it's going to create your contract value, your present value, net present value at the discounted cash flow rate. It's going to create your depreciation, your clearing entries, and your interest. So all the complex calculation that we talked about in the beginning of the seminar, the NPV calculations, discounted cash flow, and all that, basically all that comes through a very simple click of the button, and it shows you the entire cash flow as well as the amortization schedule up to your end of the contract. So everything is automatically generated and saved by SAP. All you need to do is run some reports and do your disclosure to the agreement. So that's how this works. Similarly, if we have to go to a GASB 96 agreement, this can be a separate agreement, same transaction, RECN transaction, but now we will use a different contract type. We can use this as software as a license. It has everything similar, general data with fast entry. It has a contract start date, a contract end date. It has the relevance here. You can capture the conditions, and these conditions can be, what we are paying towards the software. So it can be like your license fee, your subscription fee, implementation charges, installation charges, etc., etc. Under the objects, we have something called a object type. So if you want to differentiate your cloud payments versus your Apple, your Google, your Microsoft charges, we can configure those values automatically so that you can differentiate and also do reporting on what kind of charges you are paying. Exact similar way of doing these calculations. So you as a GASB 87 compliance responsible person will come in here. You will click on these flags. Now these flags will also automatically create a right of use asset. As you can see here, this asset is created from the CLM module into the asset accounting module, and it's going to capture all the important information. And once you run the log, basically it's going to show you what kind of the posting as well as the cash flow that you are going to generate. So this entire piece of calculations and reporting and everything becomes super easy with the click of some flags. First of all, of course, we'll have to capture all this information, which is going to be a big task. Once we have all the information, we then use 2 clicks to upload the data. We then perform the valuation, and basically we are ready with the GASB 87 and the GASB 96 compliance. Okay, let me show you quickly how 2 clicks works. Traditionally, we develop a lot of custom programs to develop to migrate the data, but we have this 2 clicks transaction, which works as a simple creator. So we have the download and the upload button. Download is used basically to create a template. If you remember my slide on the 2 clicks, it talked about creating a template first through a download. So let's say if I want to do a contract update, I can just click on contract. It's now going to bring all the fields that we have under the contract. Everything that we need is now here. A user can pick and choose what fields he or she wants in the template, bring it over to the right-hand side window, and then download this as a file. So it immediately, it can create a template for you. A template, if you have worked on SAP projects, you know that these templates can be really complex because they will be text files and they need to be converted and so on and so forth. Not anymore, at least not with 2 clicks. 2 clicks gives you a very simple, easy to follow in English Excel spreadsheet, which has all the fields and not just the fields. It also gives you the drop-down values. So if you have a company code, it gives you all the company codes that exist. It gives you how many, first of all, what tab that data exists, what's the name of the field, what's the technical name of the field, what kind of a field it is, and how many characters are allowed. You can use this template, compile your information, and once you are ready, basically come here to the upload. Again, select on contract, and then you can say what you want to upload. Gives you, take a path to the file that you have already created, run it in the simulate mode. It's going to show you all the errors, and you can run it in the real mode as well. So super easy data migration and very transparent and smooth one. Okay, so that brings me to the end of demo. Let me stop sharing and give it back to Jail.
Thank you very much, Sanjay. Let me share my screen. So the objective of showing the SAP system is to give you an idea of how robust this is compared to managing your system or your GASB 87 and 96 requirement using Excel. Okay, so for the next topic, I'd like to show you a typical timeline. If you're going to implement GASB 87 only, that's about 4 months. If you're going to implement GASB 87 and 96, you add additional 2 months, so about 6 months of implementation. And the reason for this is because of the master data of how you build the system. As far as resources are concerned, we have a project manager who will be on a part-time basis, but the REFX consultant will be full-time beginning to end. Also, we have an ABAPer, just in case you have some special requirements on reports and integration and some enhancements, just in case. The key assumptions for this type of project is that basis and security will be provided by you, okay? And you will follow the best practices and use our accelerators. The 2 clicks, our test scripts and training materials that we called all over these years. Hope you can use that as well and accept them to expedite this project. And we are also expecting that you will provide resources who understands the business process and can decide on GASB valuation and posting. And of course, again, master data is organized. Hopefully you can just easily upload that using 2 clicks. Typical high-level project plan, again, GASB 87 for 4 months. We'll start the preparation in month 1. The design, starts also in month 1. But what I want to highlight in these 2 types of project plan is that data migration starts also in month 1. Okay, and then of course we have testing for about 3 months, and we offer training and support for the project as well. Again, duration of the project depends on your on the scope and the organization of your master data. Lessons learned. So, Sanjay, you would like to take?
Yeah, sure, Jail. A lot of lessons learned. We have been doing this for last 5 years, and we have worked with many clients, including big school board districts, some counties, as well as some water imperial boards. First and foremost is don't underestimate the master data and conversion effort. It has been a big task for us to get the inventory of all the real estate equipment and the software leases. You know, they are all over the place. Some of them are in legacy systems, some are in the Excel spreadsheet. Some things are in the brains of the people also. So it's going to take a lot of time to actually get the inventory of all the all the leases that we have. Provide resources who can make decisions quickly, authorize them to take decisions. I know GASB 87 and 96 are new, very confusing accounting boards, not a lot of information available in the market or a lot of experience available. So get the right resources, make them as part of the project, let them work with us and we can share our experience and do some quick decision making. A lot of our clients have also hired some external consultants because 96, 87 and 96 are confusing. If you have looked at the accounting standard, basically it's a big 56-page PDF document that you need to go through to understand what the implications are. So, if possible, hire the external consultants.
Yes. So I want to give a color commentary on that, Sanjay. So Phoenix Business Consulting is not an auditing or an accounting firm, and we can share with you what our other clients have done in the past. But any postings and analysis of the GASB text, that's going to be the responsibility of you, our clients. Go ahead, Sanjay.
Yeah. The fourth point is the finalize your posting schema. Posting schema, by posting schema, I mean what kind of journal entries are you expecting to be posted? Many of our clients, and I think many people on this call will have the modified accrual and full accrual applicable. That actually brings a lot of complications. So posting schema is very important, and if you can use it upfront or if you can finalize it before the project starts, it will be very helpful because then the consultants can come in. They know what kind of journal entries are expected from the CLM module, so we can straight away jump into the configuration and complete the posting schema. We also need the basis and the security teams in the beginning. We have the TCI. TCI stands for Transport Correction Instructions. It's basically a big OSS node, almost as good as a support pack, only for REFX or CLM module that we need to implement. So we should have that system landscape ready and updates. We have actually done many implementations. So we have gone through all these pains, have been on a learning curve for last 5 years, and we can help with reducing the pain in the implementation for all this roadmap. Okay, yeah, let's go to the next slide.
All right. So again, I would like to highlight that we're offering a 2-day on-site or virtual workshop to dig deeper into this process and give you high-level plan, scope, and budget. Okay. All right. It's a open forum time. So we have a few questions here, Sanjay. First question. Okay. What are the license requirements for this?
Yeah, so the license requirements are, if you are planning to use the flexible real estate management, then you may have to pay some license fee. And what exactly is that license fee? You may need to contact your client partner or the AE who is working on this project. It's not huge, but you need to be clear on what the REFX license fee is, because that need to be part of the project budget. If you are using the CLM, just the CLM component of it, which is contract and the compliance, then there is no license fee. That's my understanding. Things might have changed, but CLM does not need any license fee, and that's why it is very popular right now.
Okay. We have another question. Is your model able to analyze the lease, which are part of GASB 87 and 96?
Yes, that's a great question. I have already replied. Basically, SAP has come up with a questionnaire. That questionnaire is a configurable questionnaire that you can use to do your lease classification. So you can design a questionnaire like, is this a short-term lease? What's the duration of the lease? What's the total cash flow on this lease, and so on and so forth. And depending on the simple answer of yes or no, SAP can then help you to eliminate or avoid that lease, or can ask you to do the lease implementation in the CLM module. So yes, the question is available and you can discuss with your consultant on how to configure it to suit your requirements.
Okay, thank you very much, Sanjay. Another question here. Are you able to implement this remotely or do you need to be on site?
Another great question. Generally, last 5 years, we have been doing implementation with a 80-20 ratio, 80% remote and 20% on site. So, a 4 to 6 months time frame, we come in the beginning of the implementation for about a week or so, have some face time with users, sit down, sit down in the conference room with the lease admin, with the finance asset, as well as the reporting teams, understand and clarify, understand the requirements, document them. Then we go remote, do all the configuration, do all the enhancement, anything that we need to do, and then come back towards the end of the project for training as well as for the UAT. So I would say 80-20% has been working really well. 80% remote and 20% on-site. Yes.
Yes. And like what Sanjay said, normally the first on-site will be during the design stage.
Right.
Okay. Here's another question. How much custom development is required for public sector clients?
It depends. First of all, the answer is not a lot. And that goes for most of the clients. REFX as well as CLM are well equipped. They have all the inbuilt calculations and all the inbuilt requirements to meet the GASB 87 and 96 compliance reporting. So I would say about 90 to 95% is standard out of the box solution. The remaining 5 to 10% enhancement is basically for your typical requirements, like you need the fund, you need the grant to be paid. There could be some validations or substitutions that you may need to do for posting to a fund or posting to a grant. So those are like small 5 to 10% enhancement that we do. We also offer 2 clicks as part of the accelerators. Right. So that takes care of all the migration. And these 2 clicks, it's not just for the implementation. Like generally when you develop the in-house programs, those are one-time programs. You use them and throw them. They are not usable anymore after the go live. 2 clicks is not like that. Even after you go live, and if you need to do any mass updates, any changes, the 2 clicks will be able to help you to do that. So many of our clients, even after go live, last 2 years after go live, they are actively almost every day using 2 clicks to make changes to the leases, add rents, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So 2 clicks cuts down majority of your conversion development that you need for your migration.
That is right. Okay, that's about it for us. Just like to remind you, thank you very much for those of you who stayed till the end. We'll send you an email if you're included in the raffle, and send you instructions on how we're going to do the raffle on Monday. You need not be present in the raffle, and we'll just announce the winner through email as well. Again, thank you very much. This is JL Diaz. If you have any questions, this is my email, and my phone number is also shown here. And we'll share this deck to you and the recording after this presentation. And I hope, we can schedule something up as far as, deep dive into the GASB implementation. Okay, and that's about it.
I would like to say just a last note that if the GASB 87 and 96 is not on your roadmap right now, please start thinking about it. It's quite complex and it's quite rigorous. You need to do work on finding out the leases, taking the inventory of the leases. I'm sure you cannot escape the compliance, so you must be doing it manually. But let me tell you that doing it manually in spreadsheet is not really a very optimum utilization of your time and resources. Use this module. It's out of the box. It has all the inbuilt calculations and everything. So, if you are not thinking about implementing this, maybe start thinking about it and, give it a shot. I think it's really worth implementing.
Okay, thank you very much. And that's about it. Talk to you soon.
Thank you,
Bye.
guys. Happy Friday and have a great week.